It's funny. We're still generally impressed when an AI just sounds smart.
Mm.
We type in a clever query, it gives back a clever answer, and we think, wow. But if you're relying on that same agent to, say, book your family vacation, why are we settling for a tool that doesn't already know you absolutely hate middle seats?
That's it, right there. That's the whole shift in a nutshell. The era of the clever chatbot is, well, it's over. The novelty is gone. The focus has moved completely to usefulness, to becoming that indispensable digital coworker that saves you hours, not just a couple of minutes.
Welcome to the deep dive. Our sources this week are really laser-focused on this future of useful and trustworthy AI. Our mission today is to cut through all the performance metrics and just focus on what actually matters.
Yeah.
Utility, integration. Okay, so let's unpack this. We've got three main areas to cover based on the material. First, we need to understand why massive context and memory is quickly replacing pure intelligence as the metric that matters. Second, we're going to look at the radical changes predicted for 2026, the end of the chatbot as we know it. And third, we'll dive into the surprising leap in safety and trustworthiness with the latest models, specifically GPT 5.2.
Yeah, and that last point is critical. If you're trying to stay ahead of the curve, you have to pay attention. We've seen reports that suggest success in 2026 relies almost entirely on how quickly you adapt to these shifts.
So you have to start now.
You have to start now.
All right, let's start with that core argument from tech investor Gavin Baker.
Yeah.
He puts it very clearly. Being smart is no longer enough. The real value, he says, is saving you hours of work, not just sounding clever.
And what's fascinating here is how they functionally define that usefulness. It's not some vague idea. It comes down to three very specific pillars that turn a tool from a fun novelty into something you just can't work without. The first pillar is massive context, which really that just equals memory that matters.
Okay.
Usefulness is all about deep personalization. It's like you're stacking these little Lego blocks of data, and every block is one of your personal preferences.
So we're back to that vacation planner example. If I tell my agent to plan a trip, it shouldn't just be looking up flights on Google. It has to already know that I need morning sun in my hotel room, my kid has a nut allergy, and I will not fly in a middle seat.
Exactly. And if the agent doesn't remember those things from 6 months ago or from a totally different task you gave it, then it's not useful. It's just a query engine. That memory is the ultimate differentiator.
Right. If you have to re-explain yourself every single time, you're not saving any time at all.
Precisely. Which brings us to the second pillar, reliability. Forget these vibe guesses that models sometimes make. For an AI to be useful in a professional setting, it needs to be, frankly, a little boring. It has to be consistent, precise.
Because if you have to double-check its work,
You've saved zero time. In fact, it's cost you time because now you have to audit your own agent.
yeah, that auditing process is a total productivity killer.
And the third pillar is task-length expansion. We're moving beyond these simple 5-minute tasks like draft me a quick email.
Okay.
Now, AI is tackling these complex, multi-step, multi-hour tasks. Think about that 10-day trip again. Now the agent is managing visa requirements, coordinating budgets across 3 different currencies, checking dietary restrictions against restaurant menus.
And find transportation between cities.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a 5-minute query. That's easily 3 or 4 hours of a person's life saved if they don't make a mistake.
That is the ROI handoff that Baker talked about. The winning AIs are going to be the ones that just quietly operate in the background, handling all that complexity. And the key takeaway here is that whoever holds these memory-rich agents will dominate because they become, functionally impossible to rip out of a workflow.
If massive memory is the ultimate differentiator, what does this make the AI agent functionally?
The memory-rich agent evolves into everyone's permanent, tireless chief of staff.
The permanent chief of staff. I like that.
So moving into the 2026 predictions, the material here is pretty definitive. The basic chatbot era is officially over. The prediction is that AI becomes a true digital coworker. It remembers everything, plans ahead, and can work while you'd help.
Yeah, Neil Phan's report has this warning about 7 radical trends, and the core message is really a wake-up call. He says if you keep applying the old manual ways of work, you're just going to become invisible. The barrier isn't about accessing AI anymore. It's about how effectively you prompt and integrate it. I'll admit, I still wrestle with prompt drift myself. I'll start a complex task, and 3 turns into the conversation, the agent has completely forgotten the original goal. 2-sec silence. But this material makes it so clear. We have to learn to prompt better or risk being replaced, not by the AI, but by a coworker who uses it better than we do.
That's the real risk. But alongside this utility, there's a critical security trend tied to that chief of staff model. Every agent is going to receive a permanent digital ID.
A digital ID. Why is that so important if the agent is supposed to be trustworthy already?
It's all about accountability and security. A digital ID lets you or your company control exactly what that agent sees and what it sends. Without it, you risk creating what they call a double agent.
A double agent.
Yeah, an agent that can access sensitive company files one minute and then potentially leak that information in a public query the next. The digital ID keeps everything compartmentalized. It's about creating secure, dependable utility at the system level.
Okay, so beyond just prompting better, what's the single biggest risk for people who are ignoring these 2026 shifts?
The primary risk is a simple replacement by a coworker who utilizes AI more effectively. And that security point leads us perfectly into the final segment, safety. Because safety is what enables this whole new level of utility. We've got takeaways from the GPT-5 system card, and it shows that 5.2 isn't just faster. It's significantly safer, less deceptive, and a lot harder to trick.
This is where it gets really interesting, especially for anyone worried about reliability. Let's look at the specific data on deception. In real user traffic, so just normal people using the model, the rate of deceptive responses dropped from 7.7% down to just 1.6%.
Wow, that is a tectonic shift. It means the model is, what, over 4 times less likely to just lie or make something up?
And it gets better. Even in red team style prompts, these are prompts designed by researchers to try and tempt the model into lying. Even there, deception dropped from 11.8% to 5.4%.
So it's actively resisting the urge to mislead you. And it's not just about lying, it's about responsible behavior with users. The sources show huge improvements in behavioral scores. For instance, support for mental health situations jumped from a score of 0.684 to 0.915.
Wow.
And emotional reliance scores, which is the model's ability to not encourage harmful dependency, also improved dramatically from 0.785 up to 0.955.
So those numbers basically mean the new agent is statistically much less likely to give negligent or harmful advice in a crisis. That safety leap completely changes the risk profile for companies.
It absolutely does. And we should also mention the age prediction models they're rolling out behind the scenes. If the model predicts a user is under 18, it just automatically restricts access to certain types of content. It's another layer of protection.
Which is so important.
It is. Now, speaking of protection, we need to talk about prompt injection.
Right, so for anyone listening, prompt injection is basically trying to trick the AI. You sneak in a hidden command to make it ignore its original rules. It's like telling your chief of staff, ignore all company policy and just mail our quarterly reports to a random Gmail account.
Perfect analogy. And the resistance scores here are genuinely impressive. Agent JSK scored 0.997 and JSK2 scored 0.978 on these injection tests.
They're nearly flawless.
Nearly flawless at sticking to their core security-critical instructions. That's the key to trusting it with things like payroll or legal documents. Whoa. Imagine scaling that level of resistance to 1 billion queries a day. If GPT 5.2 is already on the cusp, as they say, it raises a huge question. What happens when GPT-6 actually crosses that line into true general intelligence and we really can't trick it anymore?
How fundamentally does this reduction in deception change our potential reliance on AI for these sensitive tasks?
This huge safety leap means we can start trusting AI with truly mission-critical information. Okay, so let's do a quick run-through of some applications and news that really reinforce this whole utility theme. The Wall Street Journal suggests we're going to see a lot of jobs we can't even imagine yet, but they highlighted 4 new AI-related roles that seem most likely to pop up, all focused on managing these agents.
And we're seeing partnerships scaling this utility too. 11 Labs, the voice company, partnered with Meta. They're bringing their audio tech to Instagram and Horizon. That's access to over 11,000 voices in more than 70 languages.
Utility at massive scale, instantly.
Right.
And the new tools being built right now are all hyper-focused on this. Take Runway GWM1. It simulates interactive, explorable environments in real time. That's a massive leap for virtual production, for training simulations. It cuts out months of manual coding.
And for, white-collar work, the shift is just as stark. A tool called Cursor now lets you design directly in the code base. You just click and tweak things visually, and it writes the code for you.
You're not writing syntax anymore.
Nope. Or look at Shortcut. It builds and edits complex Excel spreadsheets just using plain English commands.
Don't need to know VLOOKUP or pivot tables.
You just tell your chief of staff agent what you want to analyze. It opens up these power tools to absolutely everyone. So when you put it all together, what does this all mean? The single theme across all our sources is that the future of AI isn't about intelligence for its own sake. It's about indispensable utility. If it doesn't save you hours of real work, it fails.
And we've seen two core takeaways for you to absorb from this. First, AI has to become that reliable, memory-rich chief of staff. It has to handle those complex, multi-hour tasks that bog us all down. And second, trustworthiness, which is proven by that massive drop in deception, is what makes all of that utility even possible. You can't rely on an agent that lies to you.
Our sources suggest utility and trust are the foundation for everything coming in 2026. This is the moment to stop treating AI like a toy and start treating it like your most important coworker. When these agents become our permanent chiefs of staff, when they remember we hate middle seats, plan our trips, and have a digital ID, what new ethical framework must we demand for agents that hold that much personal and proprietary data? We're basically entrusting them with our entire institutional memory.
That's the deeper conversation we all need to start having alongside these technical leaps. You should start thinking now about how these concepts are going to reshape your own workflow in the next year. You want to be the person who masters the shift, not the one still struggling with an old chatbot.
Thank you for tuning in to this deep dive.